Isaac wanted to know what games you were playing on PS5 and what you were impressed or disappointed by so far. What is your McDonald's order, Kevin? When you pass through the Golden Arches, what do you come out the other side with?
I pass by the Golden Arches.
So the question here is, now that you've gotten Sonichu on the podcast, who's next on the list of, quote, it'll never happen but guests? Finding meaning in something is like exponentially more valuable than being passionate about it. If you have meaning, then you have everything.
The cornucopia of creators is really awesome, and it grows every day.
This is from Trev's Dead, and since this is the big one, this is Friendsgiving. Trev wants to know, what are we thankful for?
Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown. I am Kevin Lieber. This is the home of Make Something Mean Something. We are live on Discord, like we are every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern with our patrons. But this time, not only with our patrons, but with all of our friends for Friendsgiving. Isn't that right, Matt? Matthew Tabor, ladies and gentlemen.
It's Friendsgiving. We've got a bunch of patrons. We have a couple new people. We just opened it up. We decided to open it up for everybody so that we could all hang out because let's see, this is episode 68, which means we're one episode away from a gamer number. But it also means that we've been having fairly serious YouTube media creative career discussions for 68 episodes, probably averaged out to an hour and a half. I'd say we've got like 120 hours of content at this point. And it seemed like a good time to hang out for a little bit.
Yeah, it seemed like a good time to have
hang
an
out
hour of non-tent and talk about the Macy's Dragon's Blood barrels that you're ogling in your spare time.
Yeah, that was a great review. And Conrad, I don't think he was in here, but Conrad does a lot of D&D games. And there's a review for a whiskey barrel on Macy's. And somebody said it was great for their 15-year-old who fills it with Dragon's Blood something, which turned out to be fruit punch for their D&D games. So that was pretty sweet. That's the kind of thing we talk about before and after the shows and all during the week on the Discord.
Speaking of D&D, two things. First of all, I've always wanted to play, and I never have. I just never knew. Literally have never known anyone in person that played D&D, so I never did. It's like obviously a social game, and I don't know that you can play it by yourself. So, but I have been, like, as a weird side tangent, recently been listening to Blind Guardian, which is a metal band.
What's Blind Guardian?
Oh, there is like a genre of metal that's kind of like fantasy metal that I think like D&D kind of people like to listen to. Blind Guardian is one of those bands. So if you look them up and you just look at their cover art, you will kind of like instantly know what type of band it is. And I've never listened to that type of metal, but just recently I threw it on because I wanted something different to listen to while I was working, and kind of love it. It's kind of great. So just throwing that out there. Blind Guardian, they've got like 1 million albums. They've been around for 100 years. And if you're into fantasy and D&D and metal, you might have found the perfect band for you.
Well, it's easier now to play D&D than ever because doing it online, like, you know, you can, it automates things like the rolls, and keeping track of the character sheets is so much easier. You know, I'm sure some people love the pencil and paper kind of thing because there is a charm to that. But yeah, so like I mentioned, Conrad does it. Like I know several people who, over the years, I've known several who have D&D games online. Producer Ben, I know he plays a D&D Star Wars themed campaign. So these people exist. They're out there. Yeah, and he plays on stream. We'll pop Conrad's Twitch in the description here. between marbles and D&D and Stream Raiders. It's one that I sub to, and that's one of the questions that we already have logged for later on is about Twitch and YouTube subscriptions, Kevin. So get ready to detail who you subscribe to.
My problem with that, well, and this is a problem that extends to many areas of my life, is I can't remember anything like ever. It's so
pull it up. Pull it up.
Bad. Like there's a channel I've been watching recently of this guy who's doing Demon Souls lore, Bloodborne lore, and it's not Vati Vidya is like the really famous guy that's been doing it. Oh, it just came up, Max Derot. So Max, M-A-X, and then his last name is Derot, D-E-R-R-A-T, 147,000 subscribers. So that's substantial. A nice amount. But Max has been doing these lore videos of like the creation myth of Dark Souls, Shadow of the Colossus. And I really love like using things that people know, like those video games, to explore things that they might not think about, like, Gnosticism or, alchemical ideas. You're probably not going to watch a video about that, but when there's a blend there, I mean, it's pretty much what we do on Vsauce too. It's like, how many people are going to read a paper about auction theory? They're not, but maybe they'll watch our video on it.
Yeah, we had a good conversation the other day about kind of precisely this, about baking in an important thing that on the surface is just not that interesting. Baking that into a situation that is interesting and something that people would want to do. It's sort of like parents preparing vegetables in a way that their kids will actually want to eat.
Oh my gosh.
They don't what? That was a fine analogy.
No, I know. But it reminds me of this commercial that like bothered me so much. It's a commercial for French fries, for French fries that you buy in the freezer section of the supermarket. And they're bribing their kids to eat their vegetables by offering them the French fries. And that's how they're marketing the fries. They're like, use your fries as bait, basically, as like bait to get your kids. Hey, if you eat like 3 pieces of broccoli, you will get your McCain tater tots as a prize. That seems like
I think it's fine.
I think it's like
French fries are they're vegetables anyway. Who loses here?
Yeah, I know. It's like so. Look, I love French fries. I'm not anti-fry. I love fries, but it's that kind of thing where you're like associating unhealthy behavior with happiness at like a young age.
Yeah.
Like, there was, I don't want to say, there was somebody that I knew. We'll just put it this way. So somebody that I knew.
Oh, do I know who it is? Am I gonna listen to this story and know the person? Because it's so frustrating when you and I both know of somebody that we want to throw under a bus, but can't do it publicly. And there are a couple people who we know from way back in the day who listened to this podcast, and so now I'm even less inclined to out somebody when it's too obvious. So yeah, okay. Well, if I don't know them, then good. This is fresh. Go on.
No, you don't. But it's probably you know somebody like this in your life. But anyway, it reminds me. Okay, long story short, this parent, whenever the kid wanted to reward the kid or make the kid feel happy, would take them to McDonald's. So then, like, as she grew up, she associated eating McDonald's with happiness or with coping.
Well, okay.
And like, I think that can get dangerous. It's not necessarily a harmful, bad thing. McDonald's isn't the worst thing in the world. There are plenty of things that are worse, obviously, but it might not be
get zinged for that.
I'm going to get zinged. Yeah, probably.
Hashtag Vsauce2 is over party by saying McDonald's isn't the worst thing in the world. Wait until Twitter hears about this.
I know. It's not. It's not. There's plenty of great things about McDonald's. I mean, it's your go-to travel restaurant
Yes.
because
it
of
is.
it's gonna not make you sick when you eat it.
It's got the best odds. Yeah.
But it reminds me of the
See, we've
Homer
already got it in
Simpson
the chat.
quote. What?
Oh, Juven says, wow, can't believe Kevin is McDonald's shill. I told you this would happen. Told you this would happen. But we do have some defense from Matthew Winter. That's right. He's closely tied to McDonald's, which anybody who listens to Ennui TV knows.
Hey, look, shills get paid. I'm not getting paid, so it doesn't count. I'm not a shill. If they paid me, I would shill for them. But Homer Simpson had a quote about alcohol being the cause and solution to all of life's problems.
Right.
That's what it reminds me of. Like that kind of, yeah, where you're like using it as a good thing to cope or as a reward and also as a coping mechanism, no matter what it is, whether it's booze or French fries, might not be a great idea. That's all.
Well, Marcos says all of my good childhood memories are linked to food. And yeah, he's got a comic that actually is kind of related to that. But I feel kind of the same way. I wouldn't say 100% of mine are linked to food, but a whole lot of them are. Like, when you think of holidays and things like that, you think of the foods you like eating at that time that you don't eat year round.
No. Let me give you another example that's not food related, because it doesn't have to be like a food shaming discussion. Disney World. Here's another one. Disney World. I know someone else where it's a similar thing where she would go, her parents would take her to Disney World for like whatever reason to make her feel better or to reward her or whatever. And now it's to the point where she spends like an ungodly amount of money every year going to Disney World and buying Disney things and just like financially going into ruin because of Disney World stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of brutal. So as you're telling the story, you said she, and so two people in the chat right now are heavy Disney users. And that's Isaac and Dojangles. And so I was waiting, to see if you would identify one or the other. Well, you said she, and that narrowed it down. So yeah, we know that you're talking about Dojangles, who spends way too much time at Disney. And she claims in the chat that her life is not in ruins, but I don't believe her. So you probably did. It's not a dox. It's more of a dox of a girl's problems that you just did.
Well,
so hopefully Dojangles gets the help that she needs.
It's not Dojangles. I didn't know that she also had this problem, but maybe I could match you up with the girl that I know that has this issue, and you guys could have like a mutual therapy session, or you'll just go to Disney World together and you have a buddy. That makes sense.
They could be besties, Disney besties.
Yeah. Go on. It's a Small World together. Or the teacups.
So, hey, I want to work in some of the questions as we talk rather than a blast at the end, because you mentioned one already. Like if you mention a thing, then I'm going to pull up that question. Did you just bring up Demon Soul?
I did.
Or what?
Yeah.
Did that? Okay. Yeah. So Isaac, who is a slave to Disney, wanted to know what games you were playing on the PS5 and what you were impressed or disappointed by so far.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I was playing Demon Souls. I finished it. It was the first time actually that I finished it. It's like the fourth time I've tried, but every time I kept, oh man, if anybody listening knows about Demon Souls, the game punishes you if you're bad at it. It's this really weird thing where like most games, if you die a lot of modern games will get, the game will know, and it will literally get easier because they're like, wow, you are bad at this game. Here, we'll help you out. We'll like have less enemies or no enemies or whatever. Demon Souls literally is the opposite, where if you keep dying in one of the levels, in one of the archstones, the world changes to what's called black tendency, and the enemies get way harder, like way, way, way harder. They have they do more damage to you and you do less damage to them. So a couple of times in the past when I tried to play the game on PS3, I had given up because I sucked so bad that then the game got so hard I couldn't overcome how bad I was at it. So,
yeah, that's like the saying. It's like the beatings will continue until morale improves. It's like the beatings will get more severe progressively. Like, that's odd. It seems like it would kill your ability to play the game.
It did for me in the past. So luckily this time I was just better at it. I was more prepared. The game encourages you to like start over. I know that sounds weird, but to play through it multiple times and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, this time I beat it. I loved it. It was great. It looks amazing visually, way better than anything that they could have done on PS4. So the PS5 already, like out of the gate, looks way better. That's pretty much it. I was also playing the
What
Pathless.
class did you use?
We
have Charles Kahn, who, by the way, Charles is an amazing follow on Twitter. If you're into the meme life, if you like memey things, Charles is fantastic. So Charles Kahn on Twitter, pop that in and look. But yeah, he wanted to know what class you used.
Yeah, Charles Kahn in all caps. Ask him what class he used. Was he a magic guy? Yes. In fact, that was part of my strategy this time, Charles, is that I was a magic guy because I read that it was easier to be a magic guy. And I had been, just a basic knight, which is what I usually do in Dark Souls in the past. And holy cow, was it hard. So yes, I did royal class. I was a magic guy and it was boring. Boring? No. Sauron of Mordor says magic is so boring though. You know what's not boring? Actually finishing the game for the first time in like 9 years since it came out. So that was really fun. Otherwise, on the PS5, I'm just playing PS4 games on it because there are not really other games out right now. Okay. And the PS5 plays PS4 games better than the PS4 does. So at the moment, it's kind of just like a souped up PS4 for me since I finished Demon's Souls. So I started playing Doom.
I'm just waiting for the PS4s to go on sale.
What are you waiting for?
A PS4 on each TV. I like it as a media center, so I'm waiting for the PS4 to be on sale so I can grab a second one.
Yeah, it'll probably be dirt cheap. Yeah, Jeff's excited about Doom 2016. It's really awesome. I like it a lot. I hadn't played it before, and it was dirt cheap. It was like $14 on Black Friday sale. Yeah, Eternal I started and I didn't like it. It was like an arena shooter. It wasn't like a standard Doom game. It was like just go room to room and shoot a bunch of guys and then go to the next room and shoot a bunch of guys. I wasn't as into that. So then I went back and played the 2016 one. I thought that was really cool. So I'm enjoying that instead right now.
Oh, Dan, by the way, asked, I want to throw back to McDonald's here. This is a quick and easy. What is your McDonald's order, Kevin?
I don't go to McDonald's. I don't have a McDonald's order.
When you pass through the Golden Arches, what do you come out the other side with?
I pass by the Golden Arches. I don't...
Really? All the time? Every time?
Yeah. So the last time I went to McDonald's was to get the nuggets for the nugget algorithm video, where I had to get like 9 different weird orders of chicken nuggets. That was 2 years ago, I think. Prior to that, gosh... It had probably been 10 years maybe since I went to McDonald's. I just don't go there. Really
that long? So
I don't
even
go there.
Driving somewhere like where, there's one place at a rest stop, you still pass on McDonald's?
Yeah, because there's always another place because of old hotelling's law. There's always another option, and I always take the other option. If I had to twist my arm, I'd say nuggets. Probably just like a quarter pounder with cheese. I don't really like the Big Mac.
Yeah, I like the Big Mac a lot. When they have sales where it's like 2 for $4 or something like that, I'm pumped on that. I like nuggets because the hot mustard sauce is banging. I like hot mustard. Other than that, their menu, like a lot of the items have been phased out. The ones I liked have been phased out. And a really obnoxious thing for me in my life is that the local McDonald's, which is a few minutes away, and the next nearest one is half an hour. They don't have the $1, $2, and $3 menu the way other ones do. That's actually up to the franchisee's discretion. They don't have to use the menu. So you see all these things on TV. It's like, oh, this $3 7 patty burgers, on the menu. Well, then I go to the local one and they don't have it. So it's really annoying. But yeah, the double, just like bacon double cheeseburger is great. The McDonald's bacon double cheeseburger is outstanding. And this reminds me of something. When that was on the dollar menu, I think we've talked about this in the past, haven't we, Kevin, about the McDonald's double cheeseburger being the greatest nutritional advance in human history.
Yeah, I think that was one of like the earliest things we talked about on the podcast. Yeah, it's like the economics of the amount of calories you get for the amount of dollars it costs is
fantastic. It's amazing.
It's without rival. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else that's even close. There's just nothing. You can't get so many calories in $1.
Your McDonald's that doesn't participate thing is like that Mitch Hedberg joke where he says, I want to open a McDonald's and not participate in anything. This McDonald's just sells
that's reality.
Blankets and spaghetti.
That is so close to my reality. Yeah.
Wait. Speaking of items that are no longer on menus, if you'll allow me to rant about my fast food anger, is Taco Bell removing the grill stuffed burrito, like the XXL burrito.
We have that in chat. Conrad asked about that just a minute ago. He said, urgent question, is Taco Bell still S tier after the menu changes? I actually didn't know about any menu changes. So what's off the menu now?
Oh, well, I'd love to hear what else is off the menu from Conrad, but they removed the XXL grill stuffed burrito. Oh, Tom just posted like what is this? Some sort of petition to get it back on the menu. Change.org, get the grilled stuffed burrito back. That was the thing that I would go there for. Now I genuinely don't even go there anymore because they removed the thing that I liked. So, bad decision move on a bad business move on Taco Bell's part, because now I will get nothing from your establishment after you removed the one thing that I always got. Tom, is that a list of the things they removed? Matt, you should read that. You should read that list out loud for all of our listeners to know what they will no longer see.
Look at that. Beefy mini quesadilla, chips and salsa, Chipotle chicken loaded griller, double-decker taco, Cool Ranch Doritos Locos Tacos, Fiery Doritos Locos Tacos, double tostada, power menu burrito, XXL grilled stuffed burrito. That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff. I like the Doritos tacos. They were, a little bit messy to eat, but they tasted good.
11 says that they got rid of the beefy Frito burrito too. That was the other thing that I always got. What do they have left? What are they selling at Taco Bell? Blankets and spaghetti?
Soft taco and hard taco. That is it.
That's it. Get out.
Wow.
And a Baja Blast Mountain Dew. That's all we have. Why did they do that? It's so weird. I mean, it's all the same ingredients anyway. It's not like they no longer have tortillas. Just put it in the configuration that I would like to pay you for.
Oh, it's strange. It's really odd. But they must have reasons. It's very easy to identify which menu items don't perform, aren't worth it. They must have drawn a line and just cut off everything below it.
Yeah, the Taco Bell algorithm.
Yeah,
they got demonetized.
Do you want? They did. They got all 3 strikes at one time, and their channels shut down.
Yeah, they got banned.
Oh, good. I want to rip on something. I want to rip on a popular YouTuber publicly. Can I do this, Kevin?
Yes, sure. Go ahead.
Excellent. Well, Tom Videoger, who, by the way, is the fastest link finder. Every time we mention something, literally as we're still in the sentence that we were talking about it, he puts it in the episode chat. It's already right there. So I want to rage on this because he just linked the food theorists with Matt Pat. Now, Isaac knows. I've had this conversation with Isaac. The very first episode that they put out was about, I think it was about grocery stores kind of manipulating you, okay? And they used the classic thing about bread and milk being in the back of the store. It forces you to walk through the grocery store and make impulse buys from end caps and displays and just plain being hungry and seeing things. This is garbage. This is wrong, okay? Now, those things absolutely exist. There's side effects, there are benefits there, and it's not like the grocery store is going to shut it down. But you tell me where you put the milk, which requires heavy refrigeration units. Where else in the store do you put that other than the back, where you can load it from the back? It's something that you have to load constantly because it's such a high volume item. You have to refill it all the time. How does it go if you put those refrigerators at the front of the store for convenience?
You can't load
Where do you
them
put the refrigeration units?
You can't load them from the front.
Load them from
you can't load them like a frozen pizza. No, there's no way. You have to be able to load them from the back.
No, it would be wildly inefficient. It would be insane.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Plus, if you want to buy all that stuff, maybe you just want to buy all that other stuff too. Like, who cares?
Yeah, there's also an antidote to this massive scam, which is a modicum of self-control. All right? The panacea here is to not buy those things.
Well, plus it's not like you have to weave like a snake up and down each aisle to get there. You could still just directly walk there. It's not as though you're like fending off seas of like fruit snacks and Slim Jims to get to the milk. You could just walk to the milk and pick it up and leave if you wanted to. But who shops that way now anyway? Everybody just goes with their shopping cart. It'd be so inefficient to like go there and just walk out with a handful of stuff every day.
It's it's sort of like the way compulsive gamblers and things like that avoid the triggers. If this is a problem for you, if you're so taken in by all of the food that you see on the way to the milk and the bread, choose an aisle that is a safety aisle for you. Choose a safe aisle. So if you don't have any kids, go down the aisle that's all diapers. Like there's nothing there unless you're one of the diaper people in the baby gang that's going to interest you. If you don't have any pets, go down the pet food aisle. Get to the milk and bread in a safe way, and then get back. Mm-hmm. And by the way, Matt Pat, if you need somebody to review your scripts so that you don't put out content like this again, so that you don't utterly screw up the topic, honestly, I'm available for 300 to 500% of normal rates because honestly, you just don't get the same price after the sin that you committed with this.
I think James like either just joined or blacked out for the first half of your rant because he's like talking about how they deliberately put milk in the back of the store so you have to walk past the other purchases. James, did you miss like the first 3 minutes of Matt's argument?
He says he can't hear a thing I'm saying, which I believe.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Let me throw one to you. This is good. Triple question mark asked this right before the episode started. It's a simple question. It's not a simple answer. Well, maybe it is. We'll see. What one skill that you want to learn but haven't done it already, and why? Do you have an answer to that, Kevin? Because if you need time to think, I have my answer.
I don't know if learning another language is considered a skill, but I love to learn Japanese.
Okay, well, that's my answer.
What?
Is a foreign language.
What language?
I would do either. I'm torn on Hebrew or Russian.
Why?
Why? Because there's a ton of stuff that I think is probably inaccessible in Russian without being able to read it. A bunch of old things. And Hebrew, I more just kind of want to know. But you have like, what would knowing Japanese, being able to read Japanese, speak it, what would fluency in all ways unlock for you that you can't get right now?
Well, I would love to go back there. I would like to go back to Japan and actually understand and converse with people because I was extremely surprised I mean, probably ignorantly and naively, that very few people in Japan speak English. I don't know why I had this idea that they were teaching and learning English from a very young age over in Japan. I don't know why I thought that. That must be some sort of completely biased American thing to think. But I did think that, and I learned that that is not the case. And aside from, like a handful of people that will like work at the hotel, if you're staying in like the hotel or the inn or whatever, nobody else is really speaking English beyond like maybe the bare minimum, maybe. So it kind of sucked. I mean, I just would have loved to have been able to just even have a really simple conversation with people. Just walking into a restaurant and asking like, can I have a seat? Like, can I sit down? Are you open?
Yeah.
When should I come back? What time do you open tomorrow? Like simple stuff like that. It was like a nightmare to try to navigate. It sucked.
Do you have a non-language thing? Because I realized that it's a little bit lame that we had the same answer. We're two boomers who are like, oh, wish we'd learned that language when we were 18. Get on it, kids. Totally accurate, by the way. You had to have taken some language in school. Did you do Spanish?
I did Latin, man. You didn't know that?
Oh yeah, so did I. No. Now that you say it, yeah, I remember you.
Yeah.
Every time something Latin comes up, like when we had to, you remember finding the exact translation of the thing about using urine to whiten teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember back then us talking about Latin vocab.
Yeah. Okay, so a non-language thing is probably to play the drums. I always thought playing the drums would be awesome.
Oh yeah.
And as like a big metal guy, the drums are like 90% of what's awesome about metal. So
that's true.
Being awesome at the drums would seems like it would be really fun for sure.
Mine is pretty easy, simple. I wish that I had the ability to run distance. I've never in my life been able to do this. When I ran track, I was reasonably good at very short distances, but anything beyond 400 meters, and I have a hard time mentally doing it. I'm so not into it. At the same time, I wish I could run for half an hour. If I ever had to run for my life, could I? Like that's. By the way, everybody listening to this, ask yourself this question: if I had to run for my life right now, could I? And if the answer is no, then change how you're living your life,
dude.
Because you need to prepare to run for your life when it happens.
What was the stat that you shared a couple of weeks ago about how like 77% or something of like American like military age people could not pass boot camp or whatever?
Yeah. That came from Rob Henderson, who's another outstanding Twitter follow. He's in my top 5 favorite accounts. He shares a lot of kind of societal commentary and news and things like that. And yeah, I think it was 77%. That was, just people who are not fit on a basic level, fit enough to be in the military. Now, they also aren't so far away that it would be impossible for them to get there. In reality, like honestly, in 8 weeks, they could make the standard. But they're not there right now. But yeah, running is something I've just never, I've tried it just so many times, more times than I can count. And it never stuck. I hate running, but I do wish that I had that ability. Let me see on another one. Oh, here's something, Kevin, I want to do an experiment with you.
Uh-oh.
I want to play a game with you.
Uh-oh.
I want to play that game in public.
Okay.
We did talk, we talked in the after show about how really difficult it was to get in contact with Sana Chu, Christine Weston Chandler. It was really tough and it took a long time. A-Star, who's in the chat, shot a message on Instagram because they'd met at BronyCon. It was like we honestly legitimately could do a full 1 hour episode on what it was like to book that guest. So the question here is, now that you've gotten Sana Chu on the podcast, who's next on the list of, quote, it'll never happen but guests? I think that we should try to come up with one right now and publicly commit to like actively trying to get that guest?
That's really hard off the top of my head to give you.
It's really hard.
An answer.
As you're noodling, I'm going to read some of the suggestions in chat. John McAfee, well, I think he has limited access at the moment. PewDiePie, PewDiePie does not do a whole lot of podcasts. We came across that in the past. Jared Fogle, I think Jared from Subway is also still.
I don't want to talk to that guy.
Yeah.
No thanks.
That's your suggestion will be noted, James, but yeah.
Yes.
Markiplier, Chris Poole, Mini Kudos, who has been a guest on the show. We'll get him back when he has 10 million subs. Adult content creators, Charles Kahn suggests. That's actually intriguing. That's something we haven't really talked a lot about, is the 18 plus side of content creation. And there are certainly a lot of people who make a good living on that side of the biz.
Yeah. I mean, not to be a prude, but like Belle Delphine is the only one I know. And that's just because she's all on Twitter.
Who are you trying to convince here, Kevin?
Well, I don't have to convince anybody. I can't name another.
You're trying to convince me, the audience,
I can't
your
name
wife?
another person. Who else is there that like people would be interested in hearing from?
I think just about anybody. I mean, if somebody, like, imagine somebody talking as candidly as Glozell did about their career in the adult industry. I mean, I think it would be very hard to find somebody who has a boring story. Somebody did suggest a while back Derek Savage of Cool Cat fame. That's a name that's popped up a few times. I think that would be relatively easy.
Oh, I have one. Tommy Wiseau. Tommy Wiseau. That would be insane. That's my answer. Etch it in stone. That would be a crazy guest. That's who I would pick.
That's good. Should we have the chat participate in this, or do we just make a unilateral decision here?
In what regard?
The chat's receiving it well. If we choose Tommy Wiseau as this white whale of a guest.
No, that is the guest. Yeah.
Okay.
That's definitely it's Tommy Wiseau. That would be crazy.
So our goal now, is Tommy Wiseau in 2021.
Yeah, that's a good goal.
Okay, and now we're publicly accountable. Like, everybody's hearing this. It's going to go in the episode. We can clip it and make a highlight of it. Now we get to work to get to Tommy.
Okay. I mean, if the Kevin Bacon theory is right, we're, 6 degrees from Tommy Wiseau. We just got to pull that thread. And
yes.
Wait, didn't Sean Malone?
We know somebody who may know him.
Yeah. Yeah, Sean Malone, who we had on the podcast on our Stranger Things episode, which was like a year or two ago. I think it was
a while.
I think it was a year. I think it was last September. I think he told a story on that podcast about how he may or may not have interacted with Tommy Wiseau. He leans towards May, but he's not entirely sure. But yeah, we might be 1 degree away from him.
Yeah, we definitely know somebody who knows him somewhere. We just don't know who it is yet. It'll take us a while. And this is something we can drop in virtually any conversation we have. Say, by the way, I know this is off the wall, but do you happen to know or know anybody who does know Tommy Wiseau?
Yeah.
I like this. Kevin, do you have Patreon and Twitch? Okay. James has a really good question here. He wants to know who we're subbed to on Patreon and Twitch. And I'm trying to think of the best way to do this.
Yeah, I don't really use either of those.
Okay. Do you want me to just hit mine then?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do Twitch because that's easy. I'm just doing it in the order that it's presented top to bottom. Rora Pickles, who I like a lot. She's friends with quite a few people who we like. Donovan, Ricky Berwick, people like that. The rest she's online right now. The rest are offline. I have Conrad 500, Jelksies. By the way, welcome to the infantry, Jelksies. That was awesome to have you pop around, because I know that you've been listening to the show for a very long time. Weast. Makuna Matata, who's a guy, I've been going into kind of random Twitch streams as I do things around resetting up this office. And if nobody's there, or only a handful of people are there, I'll talk for a while. Makuna Matata was one of those people, tiny channel that just, we had a great time. We had a great time hanging out and just talking about all sorts of things. Chinchilla was in there. James popped in. A bunch of the Baby Gang people joined. Laterment, who is also a supporter of this podcast. Vitamin D Tang. There's a guy named Darren Tang. He's actually a professional bowler. He's on the PBA tour, and he's very, very good. I followed him through bowling, and it turns out that he also streams on Twitch a lot. He has a good audience on Twitch. He plays games like Among Us with other PBA guys. I love him. He's awesome. Quest J, talked to him about cars a while back. He's another kind of random Twitch follow. Justin Wang. James, who streamed a test. James from the Baby Gang streamed a test of about 30 seconds the other day. I subbed to him in the hopes that I'll see more in the future. Andre EPM. Andre's always around here. Has done excellent illustrations. RPG Roulette. Keaton has that podcast, and I sub to that on Patreon as well. Ben, producer Ben, his Twitch channel, Antimatter Tape, who's also a patron, and Mike from Red Bar. It's Red Bar Radio. It's a podcast that's been around for a very long time. And that's all. I know Marco is streaming on Twitch. But I
Jeff
was
Davis
unavailable.
Is heartbroken because you're not subbed to his Twitch, so you're gonna have to rectify that.
Jeff, I didn't know you had a Twitch. How did I not know this? But
Jeff should stream his hot sauce collection. I bet people would watch that.
Yeah,
he's got so much hot sauce. It reminds me of who was talking about the MRE channel? Was Many Kudos telling us about the MRE channel?
Yes. Yeah.
Where the guy just has all these MREs and it's really popular because he just goes through them. I bet, Jeff, if you just went through your hot sauce collection, people would be into that. Here's why I like this one. It comes from this place. It's, made of this blend of these peppers and that sort of thing.
That sounds super interesting.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah. My Patreon, by the way, is really fast because you're pretty much going to know everybody here. Doplex, Andre, Samito Media, who's amazing. I hope we have him on the podcast soon. John Swan, Out of Frame, which we mentioned Sean Malone just a few minutes ago. That's his channel on YouTube. He analyzes political and social themes in movies. Ennui, that's Matthew Winter. I love Ennui TV's project, so I sub there. Mini Kudos, RPG Roulette, and Christine Weston Chandler. And that is all of my Patreon subs.
Yeah, James was also asking about YouTube subs, and it's such a weird thing the way that YouTube works now, that like subscribing is almost not even a thing. I almost go out of my way to subscribe just as a fellow YouTuber, knowing that it's a good thing to do because it makes that number go up. But as far as like user behavior, it's so useless because it's like you're going to get those videos served whether you're subbed or not if you are watching them. So it's such a weird thing now, the way that YouTube works. It almost discourages you. I wish that they would come up with a way, like selfishly as a YouTuber, to better incentivize users to like and subscribe, because there's no incentive really to do either of those things. The only reason you would is if you are consciously going out of your way to decide, I want to support this person and I know that I can do that by clicking like, and I know I can do that by subscribing. But like otherwise, what's the point? Why bother? It's so weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what system they could put together that would incentivize user behavior in such a way. Like, I don't know. Does Reddit is there like a Reddit gold of YouTube that would work to give people who are big fans of like watching content a reason to engage more with it? I don't know.
I don't really use subscriptions on YouTube very much. I don't go to the subscription tab. because like you said, if there's somebody who makes a video I want to see, it pops up for me. I see it on Twitter. I see it because people are talking about it. It's recommended when I go to the homepage. The TV, I watch a lot of YouTube on TV, especially with the PlayStation now, and it does a great job of putting up the videos that I want to see. So the only time I really subscribe is when I want notifications on a channel. And that list of people, it's basically friends, people I know in YouTube. I want to see their stuff as soon as it's out. So I have notifications on those, but beyond that, subbing, I mean, it's all over the place, but I just don't go to the subscription tab and play around. I wish I had the time to do that. I just don't.
Yeah. I think my larger point is that I wish that YouTube gave like users and watchers and lovers of content a better way to feel rewarded for engaging with the content that they like so much. Somebody mentioned in the chat memberships, and I know that YouTube has memberships, but it's not a good feature. People don't really use it. And the channels that I've spoken to that have tried to use it say that it doesn't work out very well. It's just, YouTube does this thing over and over and over again where they steal other sites' ideas and then implement them as poorly as possible. And that's kind of their MO at this point, is they're not being innovative, they're being reactionary. And when they do react to different things, whether it's, Twitch having the subscribe feature, so we're going to do memberships, or wow, Instagram has stories, so we're going to do stories too, or wow, Facebook allows you to post things, so we're going to have a community wall. They just do it as almost lazily as possible. And then after like a year or so of it underperforming, they'll be like, well, nobody used this, so we're just going to deprecate it. And now that feature's gone. This is what they do over and over and over and over again. And that's YouTube's existence at this point when it comes to innovating as a platform.
They have the innovation problems that you just detailed. They've got a lot of operational problems at the moment. I have a feeling that it's going to pop up in a lot of what we talk about in December. Before the recording, Kevin, you were talking about how a lot of people are talking about the double standards with applying channel rules and things like that. And we just see that stuff every single day. I don't know how they can play with features properly when the boat has so many holes in it that water is just spurting in from every direction.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do a serious one. This is from Memph02. He's in the Discord all the time. I really enjoy chatting with him. When you feel stressed to the point where you can't function properly, what do you do to relieve that stress?
Oh, wow. I go outside if I can.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I'm really not happy about right now is that it's getting cold here. I can't go outside so as you may or may not imagine, I sit in front of the computer 7 days a week for varying numbers of hours of those days. Sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 12.
The only person who sits in a chair more often than Kevin and I do is Crypt Daddy. That puts it into perspective.
So, if things are really stressful, I like to stand up and walk away, as far away from the computer as I can, which is going outside. Now that it is turning into the frozen tundra, I can't do that. So,
it limits options. It limits a lot of options.
Yeah, like weirdly enough, I'll just go into another room. I'll just like go to another part of my house, like walk around. The weirdest thing that I will do, and I've probably mentioned this on this podcast, is I'll lay down like face first onto the floor so that I have no... This is like such a weird thing, and there's probably something wrong with me for doing this, but I try to block out all input, so like no light, no sound. So I'll lay down face first on the ground and just close my eyes for like a while until I decide to get up again.
Huh. That reminds me of something. If anybody's heard of Temple Grandin, she She's written a bunch of books about animal psychology with a woman named Katherine Johnson. There's a movie that on HBO, I think, a couple years back, where Claire Danes played Temple Grandin. But when she was young, Temple is on the spectrum, right? And she invented a thing she called the hug machine. And it basically was this massive... Charles Kahn says, yeah, she did a TED Talk. That's right. That's Temple Grandin. The hug machine is a massive contraption that put pressure on both sides of your body, right? And it's honestly a grander version of what you just described, where it's blocking out all sights and sounds. You've got pressure on your front because you're laying down, and it just relaxes you.
Yeah, that's weird.
So
I didn't
there's
thought about
absolutely
it like that.
science behind what you just said. Yeah, Charles is saying that she designed the cow spiral pen for slaughterhouses. Yes, she really reduced the stress for cows in that environment, the slaughterhouse environment. The way it was done before her work was a lot more traumatic to the animals, and she streamlined that and reduced quite a few problems with it. So Temple Grandin, Google that, and you'll go down a rabbit hole that's awesome. Because
I used
she's
one of her books for my The Invention of Pets video. If anyone's ever seen that on Vsauce 2, I used, she has a bunch of books. I don't remember which one I used, but it was
used
about
Animals in Translation.
Was it?
Animals in Translation, which is, Temple wrote that. Temple Grandin wrote that with Katherine Johnson, yeah. And Katherine is somebody I've known for, at this point, almost 15 years.
Temple Grandin, I am just a huge fan of her work. And she taught me so much about pets that I never would have known before, because basically what you come to understand is that she can read animals' body language. So animals communicate through their body. No. What I read was Animals Make Us Human. That was the book that I read.
Oh, okay.
And that was by, Temple Grandin and Katherine Johnson. Yeah, Animals Make Us Human. That's the book that I read for that. She can notice the minor differences between certain body language of animals and interpret it in a way that we just ignore. And essentially that's her superpower, is that she's
a whisperer.
Yeah, she can really understand what they're trying to say by their different movements. But one thing she talked about in that book was about how when she was a kid, dogs were just free roaming everywhere. You wouldn't have a dog in the house all day. That was literally not a thing. There would just be neighborhood dogs, and they would just run around all day, and they'd interact with their other dogs. They'd interact with neighborhood kids. They would free roam in a way that would seem completely preposterous today. No one would do that. Now we just keep dogs cooped up all day, and it's not really great for them. It's just completely unnatural for them to not be running around sniffing things and digging holes and chasing squirrels.
It's the same with cats. When GPS stuff is put in their collar and you can see the movements of a cat, their range is incredible. When all the data comes in from that and you see the pattern, cats roam such a tremendous distance, just all the time. That's what they do. But like Jeff says, he'll never let any of his cats out. Yeah, it's not that safe. You kind of can't let cats out in most places. You get some quirks when you have this animal that's designed to dig holes or prowl for 3/4 of a mile, and then you give it an apartment or a house to ramble through. Things start to get a little different.
When I was a kid, my neighbors who I was best friends with and would hang out there every weekend, they let their cats out, and they had one cat who came back just missing an eye. That cat's name was Lucky, and we had no idea how that cat lost its eye. It got into a fight with something, and then it became the one-eyed cat Lucky. That was just part of the deal.
Lucky made it, though.
Well,
Lucky made it.
Yeah, that's why she was lucky.
This is a question for me. So Kevin, I don't want to hear a sound out of you.
You got it.
Isaac asked why I have a hatred for 1080p content and would 4K or 8K video hurt even more. I want to explain this. I finally got fiber internet. So I spent years on a very bad connection. So I watched YouTube and Netflix in very low resolutions. Netflix was better. That was fine. It just wasn't high definition, but it looked great. YouTube though, I was most often like 144p and 2 whatever p. The best I ever really did was 360p. And so when I got fiber, I'm like, great, I can bump this up properly. It was really hard on my eyes. It's weird. It's when you see something perfectly clearly after you've had blurry stuff. I don't know if how many people had old CRT TVs, but when you got the first flat screen that was HD, like all of a sudden it's sharp. The world is very clear and sharp. And, I didn't like it. I still kind of don't like it watching in the high resolution because it's so foreign. It's very different for my eyes. I have no idea what 4K or 8K is like, but I look forward to going on this journey of high resolution with all of my friends in this community.
4K would make you throw up probably.
Is it weird with motion and stuff like that? Like obviously it's very sharp, but what's the difference in the experience?
It's really sharp. It's so much clearer than HD. I remember when, like for video games, for example, the difference is just crazy. How much clearer it looks. Like it's so funny to me when you watch old sports footage before HD, just how awful it looked. It's like looking at it now. It's so ridiculous to think that that's how it looked, but that's just how it looked. It looks awful. It looks so bad. It's like you can barely discern. Like if you're watching an old basketball game, like I watched, what was the Michael Jordan 10-part documentary? The Last Dance. Yeah. The Last Dance.
Last Dance. Yep.
Yeah. So they'd show all the footage of Jordan is in, standard definition.
Right.
It looks like trash. And then the jump from there to HD is incredible. And I think the jump from HD to 4K is not as stark, obviously, but it's a pretty big difference. It's a pretty big difference.
Isn't there? There's got to be a point at which you can't process the detail, though, right? Like, what resolution is your eye not capable of appreciating?
Yeah, I think Jake did a video about this.
It seems very familiar as a question, so I think you're right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did, but I don't remember the answer. So I'm going to have to balk on that one.
Yeah, I like the old stuff. I like this smoother, softer, blurrier thing. But you're right about how it changes the way you view something. So with sports, you couldn't see faces back in that day.
No, not unless it was a close up.
Right. Yeah. So if it's a basketball game and it's showing the whole court, you've got 10 guys, well, half the court probably, but 10 guys are on it. You're seeing jerseys and jersey numbers. You're not really seeing a whole lot of detail about each individual unless they have a certain body style that's notable or like hair that makes them stand out in some way. Other than that, you're really looking at jersey numbers. And now it's very different. Like you're seeing details of a body. Like when somebody passes the ball, you can see their fingers. Like that's a new thing. I don't think people realize how new that actually is, that you see their fingers bend as it releases and lets go of the ball.
Yeah. And have you ever actually been to an NBA game before?
Yeah, I saw the Celtics in college a couple times.
Yeah, I would love to, because the TV doesn't capture what it's like either at the game. So it's so much faster in real life than it is portrayed on TV somehow. I don't know why. So there are still, evolutions that will be made, I think, in displays and cameras and stuff where the way that we're watching stuff today will look like, how did we ever watch anything like that? It looks like garbage.
Well, it's like that with everything, isn't it? Like looking at very, very old movies, and I mean silent films, thinking somebody watched this and it was the greatest thing they'd ever seen in their life. Like that's nuts. Old daguerreotypes, tin types, they're like terrible photos from the 1800s. that were barely anything. Like somebody looked at that and could not believe it was reality. They thought it was sorcery.
Yeah. Well,
You
it
know,
was
records
sorcery.
on Edison's. It pretty much was. Yeah. Yeah. Very simple, chimey 50s music. Like that was the highest art in the history of man to 18-year-olds in 1956. Not so much at this point.
You know what I heard recently, and I needed to look more into this and didn't, that the Looney Tunes originally were made just to sell music. That's why it's called Merry Melodies and Looney Tunes.
Oh, I always wondered about that, about the Merry Melodies part.
Yeah, like those cartoons were like commercials for the music, and you would buy the music.
No kidding.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
That's really interesting.
And then I guess they just got eventually people liked the cartoons enough that they were able to somehow, make money off of them themselves. And I guess they dumped the music element of the records part of it. But that's how
cool.
Those cartoons started. Was
I'm going to take a stab at this username. I think it is Dabbity Dab, but I wonder if it got cut off from Dabba Dabba Da, which there's a great documentary that Vice did. It's like 20 minutes about the making of that song, Blue. I think, what is it, by Eiffel 29, something like that? Eiffel 65. That's right. I got the wrong number. But it's really fascinating. It's, Vice is kind of trash for the most part at this point. But it's a really cool mini doc. Tom just linked it. It's on YouTube. The Story of Blue Dabba Dee by Eiffel 65. Dabbity Dab.
Do you have like a synopsis that you could at least share with like why it's interesting?
It really is a story of collaboration in a studio, where one guy's doing one thing and somebody else kind of overhears it, and pretty quickly it turns into this song. And yeah, Tom has pasted this in the chat as well, that initially it went nowhere. Nobody was into it. They didn't really think anything of it. And then it just blew up in Italy, and went from there. So anyway, back to the question on this, do we feel passionate about what we do, and how did we find that passion?
Oh, yeah.
This is complex. This could be an episode.
Yeah, it probably should be an episode. The question of how you find that passion is really hard for me to answer, because I don't know if it's like an inborn thing or if it's something that someone else teaches you, really. For me, I think that it was kind of an inborn thing, and it's kind of like a personality thing, like a temperament thing, almost. I like making things, for a few reasons. One of the reasons is, like I mentioned earlier, and this is going to sound weird, but I can't remember things very well. So by making things, it's almost like creating a memory that I would have forgot, but like can point to later. So something like that invention of pets video that I made, I forgot what book that it was that I even read. I read like 7 books for that video, but one of them was Temple Grandin's. I could just look at that video and look in the sources and see what books I read for that. Or I could just watch the video and, see what knowledge that I found compelling after reading those 7 books, and it's just there. So, like, as strange as it sounds, part of what I like about creating is just sort of like etching a memory that I would have forgotten because I have such a poor memory.
That makes sense. Yeah. I'm in a weird spot with passion. I don't like passion in this context. I've never liked passion in this context. I kind of avoid passion when it comes to the work stuff, and I know that I'm not trying to sound like that guy. I'm not trying to be edgy about it. It's not that. I would much rather do a very good job with something than be personally interested in it. Like, if I followed my passion, it would be like eating bacon and watching TV all day. Like, that's not a useful thing. The passion element is substituted with, is this useful? Is this good for people? We talked about this with William Osman a little bit, and I think it was in maybe the questions, the second release that we did of the patron-only part. It was behind paywall, but now it's not. It's on YouTube. And there's this measure of the time you put into something versus the time that humanity has spent consuming it. Like maybe you put 1,000 hours in and humanity has spent a collective 2,000 hours watching it. Well, you're a tremendous creative success if that's happened. That's a cool point to pass. And that's the kind of thing that I feel really good about. If I have to do something that I'm not personally interested in to get that result, then I'm happy to do it. Boring stuff too always has a cool process in it. And I'm not saying that the work I do is boring. It's definitely not. But people who start businesses are generally not Elon Musk. Like, they're not doing spaceships and things like that. They're like, oh, I can make a bumper sticker company that prints more effectively and better than the one that's out there. You know, you're more likely to make bumper stickers than rocket ships. But the process of making the bumper stickers or ball bearings or whatever mundane thing is bound to be interesting. And you can get passionate about the efficiency and the people you work with and just all that stuff. That's what's awesome. And so that's going to be present in virtually everything you do. And if you like the process, you'll pretty much enjoy everything.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I don't know what you call that, but I do think that like taking pride or ownership in your job, no matter what it is a way better strategy than hating it and thinking about how much you hate it all the time. You know, if you do hate it, then maybe you should, you know, if you can, look for another job. But I've done some pretty like not the most like thrilling romantic jobs in the world and got a lot out of them, you know, like washing dishes. I actually really liked. That's pretty much the bottom rung job at a restaurant is the dishwasher. Mm-hmm. But I've had a lot of fun in there because you're in the kitchen and you can be weird and raucous and tell, you know, weird jokes, and you get dirty and nobody bothers you aside from, you know, the people that you work with. It's not a bad gig. Yeah, Conrad's applying to a gas station. Look at Eggy's gas station stories. They were crazy, you know?
Yep. Like, that's a great example.
He worked at a gas station, which, you know, is also like not a job that you need to have like a tremendous resume to acquire. Right. But, you know, you could get an insane amount of life experiences and stories out of doing that job.
Yeah, I think that's completely accurate, that it's really about you. And I think that's, this was a tweet a while back. Oh God, I wish I remembered the actual source. All I remember is what I said about it. But it was about people thinking their hometowns were boring until they hit an age where they start to appreciate how nice things were back home, especially if they come from a small spot and go to a massive city. Like, you know, most small town people think when you're a kid, like you've got to get out of there. You've got to go to some hub with exciting things and stuff like that. But you often hit a point where you realize that there's some value in there. And the way I feel about that is that if a place is boring, if something is boring, it's actually not. You're the boring one. This is on you. You should be able to make something interesting without the help of your surroundings. Like that's easy mode. That's like the training wheels on a bike. Yes, you can go to New York City and find things to do. Congratulations. There are 85,000 options for you to choose every day. Well, if you're not boring, you can have one option and kill it. You can crush it and have a great time. You can do something that on paper looks mundane. Kevin talked about going outside. I like to go outside. I like cutting down brush. Do you think that's different from tree to tree, plant to plant? No, it's fundamentally the same exact thing. when you use a brush cutter or string trimmer or something like that, it's got less skill and variety than a coloring book where you like fill the numbers in. It's not hard, but you can really get into it and think about all the pieces of it, or even just kind of melt away. In any case, that's you dealing with the circumstances and coming out in a really, really good place. You can do that with anything. And if it's not happening, the problem is probably with you.
So let me get this straight. So do you think that somebody who needs that tremendous variety of external interesting things for them to not be bored is proof positive of them being a boring person?
No, I reduced it too far. And I'm not saying it's negative either, because some people really like, if you're an extrovert and you don't have people to like swim around, then, you kind of need them to be who you are.
Right.
Like, I get that. And there's no,
that's what I was thinking.
I'm not saying I'm not making a massive value judgment on it. But at the same time, you should be able, no matter who you are, you should be able to put yourself in a pretty good spot with virtually any task. And if you're really bored, like, we're in a spot where absolutely everything is available to you instantly. Think about what I've done with a job for how long on the internet with hardly any connection. And it's still like you're just limited to low resolution things. Well, I did a lot of reading because I didn't have to buffer text. I didn't have to stream text. Well, fine. I made the best of it. Like, you can pretty much do that with anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily bringing the hammer down. I'm just saying, if you're in that spot, you can think about, what can I do differently? What can I do differently to better appreciate the spot that I'm in?
Yeah. I don't know. I've never had that problem. I had the opposite problem. I've lived in big cities and I don't know. I didn't like it.
Everything gets worse the moment you step off the front porch. Remember that, especially if you're young. Almost every problem you'll ever have happens because you left the house. Think about that.
Yeah. So this actually does tie into what the question was originally. And it also does tie into what I think, at least for me, and I don't speak for other, people's finding their passions, however they do it, that I've always been more interested in working on stuff than I have been in like doing other people's things. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, I know I've told this story a million times, on the podcast, but after work, getting invited to like go to a party or like go to a bar or whatever, I would just go home and work because I felt like I would feel this itch of like, I am wasting my time because I'm not doing anything that I find meaningful. So I don't know how you teach someone or convince someone that, being creative or producing works or whatever is what's meaningful to them. It kind of either is or it's not. Like, maybe hanging out with your friends is what's meaningful to you. And it was certainly was to all of my coworkers, because they all thought that I was crazy and really, really weird. Which I guess I was, because I was basically the only one who would not do those things. And I would go home and draw potato cartoons or whatever, which is, I guess, insane. But that's where I found meaning. In my day was making that stuff. So I do think to some degree, like, either you find meaning in the process of creating your art or you don't. And, either one of those scenarios is perfectly okay, as long as you are, what you're finding meaning in is healthy for you and, the people around you.
Meaning matters more than passion.
Yes. There you go.
Like, if we had to put it in a bumper sticker for our fictional company. Yeah. Like, finding meaning in something is like just exponentially more valuable than being passionate about it. If you have meaning, then you have everything.
Yeah.
Like, boom, done. Like, the end. You have solved the riddle if you found meaning in something.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then a lot of the BS that comes along with it just kind of doesn't matter as much.
Yes. Passion is dumb. Kevin, do you know what dream is?
No. As it relates to what?
Isaac, Isaac got a question about the sudden and massive rise in audience for Dream. What is he doing that other channels should learn from? I'm not familiar with Dream. I was hoping you were.
It's a YouTube channel or
I assume.
or a streamer.
I
or
assume
what?
so. I assume YouTube, but yeah,
We will
I
have
just
to
don't
follow
know.
up.
He says Minecraft YouTuber. Oh, yeah, okay, that's right. I saw this pop up on Twitter. Yeah, I'm not familiar enough with what he's doing that made him blow up. But yeah, John Swan was talking about this because, John made a Minecraft documentary that was very, very good. He made it back when his channel was much smaller. So yeah, he mentions this a lot. But when you go to his channel, yeah, it's like Minecraft speedrunner, 40 million views on all these videos. It's nuts in weeks.
Really?
So yeah, this is crazy. Like, you should click the link in episode chat and take a look. Yeah, we need to look into that and talk about it at a later date.
For sure. I'm just such a Minecraft
crazy.
boomer.
Yeah.
That was not on my radar.
Well, this is kind of a second part on that. The thoughts on the Unus Annus channel now that experiment is over.
I don't know. I am so, that's also sort of outside of what I watch and what I know about. I'm familiar with it. I know that it was Markiplier.
Mm-hmm.
And I was familiar with the idea that it was going to be 1 year long and then they were going to nuke it.
Yeah.
I find that very, very Buddhist of them to destroy their
It was
creation.
Markiplier, and it was a Crank Gameplays. Does that sound right? Chat can tell me I'm wrong if I am. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about that, Kevin? About content that lives for a year and then see ya? Like, you're somebody who's made a lot of videos for a long time. What do you think about this?
I'm not a Buddhist, so I'm not like really into that idea of like, the mandala
Wash away the
paintings
sand
or whatever.
The mandala, yeah.
Yeah, spending like 13 hours on the sand painting and then dumping it on the floor. That's not really, it's literally the opposite of why I make things. I make things to remember them, which I explained earlier on the podcast. I don't make things to forget them. However, like with that preface, I would say as an experiment, it's very cool. And I think it's really neat. And I think I'm glad that they were successful with it because it was a weird idea and I'm into weird ideas. And
yes,
that's what I always liked about YouTube were people doing weird things. So yeah, like
it's cool to see somebody do something that's off the wall in terms of format like that.
Yeah, like I would love to see more of that. So yeah, like definitely a big fan of them trying something different, following through with what they set out to do and accomplishing, this concept of this 1 year channel. That's great.
Here's my philosophical hang up with this. Okay. So when the day it happened, which I think was November 14th, which a couple weeks ago then, that was the deletion day. I started to think about it. I was in a group chat where YouTubers were discussing this, and it was a range of opinions that, yeah, this is very cool. This is unique. I wouldn't do it, but I'm glad somebody did. Others saying, kind of what's the point here? Why don't you leave this up for posterity so other people can experience the whole thing? Yeah, it was kind of both sides. And I was thinking about it, about what you lose when you delete the thing or make it unavailable. And I thought, well, what's the difference between putting this up for a year and going to any live music event? Like, that is deleted from reality the moment they stop playing. Mm-hmm. You go to a concert and that concert exists for that brief moment of time. And after that, it's over and it's gone. And, unless there's a bootleg recording or they release it or something like that, you will never experience that again. And even if you did listen to the bootleg, it's not going to be the same as being in the front row of the concert. What's the difference? And I don't have a resolution to that. I can't explain how doing a year of YouTube videos and then deleting them is any different than playing a live show that is only live. I can't resolve that in my head.
Yeah. I mean, the formats though are really different. I mean, a live performance is such a visceral experience as opposed to watching a YouTube video, right? It's still,
yeah,
you're just sitting there in your coom cave watching a video, whether it gets deleted or not. Like there's no difference there. So I do think that there's like a format and medium difference between going to like a play or seeing live music and watching a YouTube video that gets deleted.
Sure, but conceptually, like in terms of the availability of the
conceptually,
medium,
it's way more like a story on Instagram that's up for like 24 hours and then is deleted.
Okay.
I think that's a better comp than going to a live show, because there's all sorts of social elements and like pre-gaming and post-gaming. I don't know, it's just a different thing. But a YouTube story or an Instagram story or a fleet or whatever, a Snapchat, that's a way closer comparison, I think.
We have a couple small ones, a couple big ones, and then we can wrap up. I'm going to modify Baseweight's question here, because he said, I want to know what you're most grateful about for every person in the live chat. That is a lot of people right now. We can't go one by one. So let's, even though it is Friendsgiving, then let's say, what are we most grateful about for the Create Unknown community as a whole? Let's group the friends together.
Well, I would say first off, just having them here for our recordings. I think that has made a really
nice.
It's made a really big difference for me. I think for the guests, for you, for the show itself. I think it's made it much better. It's made it, just to go back to your concert analogy, it has made recording the podcast more of like a concert, like a live event, like a social. There's a social element to it, whereas before, that did not exist. It was just me, it was you, it was the guest, and there was no other dynamic of like the group chat and like asking people to answer certain questions or getting questions in real time to throw to the guest. So just in general, I think it has elevated the show in a way that's turned it into more of a show that we can all, look forward to doing every Wednesday night. And I hope that comes across to our listeners as well, who haven't joined us live, but hopefully, can hear the benefits of just having the babies with us while we're talking to our guests and while we're recording with each other.
Yeah. And for me, the thing that I'm most grateful about for the community is being able to see people progress, to see people do a thing and keep doing it, whether they grow at a huge pace or a small pace or not at all. It doesn't matter. They keep doing their thing. I love seeing these things develop. So before we recorded, or hit record and started officially doing, we were talking and hanging out with everybody and all of that. And I mentioned Dojangle's channel. Dojangles is in the baby gang. She wanted to do YouTube videos, has 5 or 6 now. It has about 250 subscribers. That's awesome. She went from 0 to having a channel. It's cool to see that develop from the very first video into the next one, see things get, like more comfortable and better. And every video is progress. And so we get to see somebody kind of, I don't know if you want to call it a journey or whatever hackneyed thing, but you just see a project go from 0 to something and keep going. That's awesome. Many kudos. We talked on the episode with him. When I met him, he had 500-600 subs. This was last November. When we talked to him 2 weeks ago, he had 9,000 some and was on the cusp of 10,000. 2 weeks later, he has 51,000 as we record this right now. Watching that develop is awesome. Monsieur Chinchilla has posted pen and ink drawings through what was Inktober. There's a prompt each day in Inktober. He just finished yesterday or today. Every day or every few days on Twitter, we would see this amazing drawing that came from a prompt. I love seeing that project go through. Marco is working on his cooking related comic, I believe. Well, we talked about that months ago in the Discord. He was interested in putting together a varied cookbook. Well, his ideas matured into something specific, and he's doing it now. He was streaming the other day, and I missed it, unfortunately. So I didn't see that. But we have so many of these in the community. I'm looking down the list here. Andre, by the way, Andre APM joined this server not long after we started it. So that was probably a year and a half at this point. Andre was one of the first members. He's a young guy. He's in Brazil. You ask what's up, what somebody's about, and talk a little bit. He's like, yeah, well, I really want to go to Japan and do animation. Well, now he's going to Japan. It's been a year and a half and it's worked out for him and he has plans to get to Japan. We get to see that. We get to see, I'm looking down the list again. Isaac continued to do escape room related things, like picking that up after the game show content he did a while back. He's still doing content. He's better and better at editing. He's faster at editing, which is cool. We see so many examples of these. Trev's dead. Who has the greatest voice in the streaming game. He made a great video a couple weeks ago. He's had some good streams. It's great to see these people keep doing what they're doing. And that is amazing. It's just the best. It's the best. I cannot describe how awesome it is to go into the Discord each day and see somebody talking about the music they're making. Oh, Baseweight, who I forgot because he's popped out of the chat for a moment. We've seen Baseweight develop his career over a year. Triple question mark is working toward doing editing and creative stuff full time. Dan, who works with us, is on that path. We're watching that play out. Ben, who does editing and production, we're seeing him kind of develop episode by episode. There's nothing like seeing what we're able to see with everybody in this community keep doing their thing.
We came up with Jeff Davis's hot sauce review channel live while recording this episode right now.
Yes.
So there you go. Everyone's making stuff and it's awesome. And different types of things. That is what's interesting to me as well. It's not like everybody is like, I'm going to make, XYZ. It's like, no, I am an artist and I want to do animation. I am a musician and I want to do music for, creators. Oh, I do editing. Oh, I do photography. Oh, I do, commentary, YouTube videos. It's just the cornucopia, to just bring it back into Friendsgiving. The cornucopia of creators is really awesome, and it grows every day. And if you're listening and you're not in the Discord yet, then I don't know what you're waiting for. Join us.
We have a long one from Risebread, who could not make this episode. He had a conflict. But he has a really good question. In one of the recent episodes, I talked about having, and I think this was in the episode, maybe it was in after show or like pre-recording chat or whatever, but having 10 or 12 currencies and a sufficient amount to get somewhere when you land in that country. I have those for a lot of places. Kind of a go bag. I think people call it that kind of thing. His question, though, I was curious what other niche collections and caches we possess in preparation for an event that statistically no one should really have to worry about, or events that no one wants to worry about.
We possess, you possess. I don't possess these types of things. This is a Matt Tabor question, if I ever heard one.
You must have something. You must have something. There has to be something that you stockpile, or you buy more of what you need, or more than what you need, because there might be a disruption in the supply of it.
Oh, video games are the only thing I buy way more of than I need. I have video games to last me the rest of my life. If I stopped buying one tomorrow, I would be...
Why do you do that?
Why? Because they get really expensive. Yeah. They get so expensive later on. Like, it doesn't take too... There are PS4 games. Okay, so the most recent generation until 2 weeks ago, that I bought for $19.99 that now go for like $150.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's insane. Yeah. So I buy a lot of games now. Even though if I don't have time to play them, because I don't want to pay $400 for them if I have the chance, 10 years from now to play them.
So what you do is not any different than what I do. You are worried about the inflation related to these games having prices get so crazy that you wouldn't be able to get them or you'd feel bad about doing it.
Yeah. Like here's an example. Okay, really quick. A few years ago, I bought Panzer Dragoon Saga for the Sega Saturn, which is notoriously very rare and expensive. I bought that game for $400 several years ago, which is an insane amount of money to pay for a freaking video game. And I'll tell you why. First of all, the source code for that game is gone, so they can't, like, if they were to remake it, they'd have to remake it from the ground up, which I guess at this point they'd have to do anyway. But they're never releasing like a port or like a sloppy, like reskinned remaster of this game because it's just gone. It doesn't exist anymore. So it's rare for that reason. It's rare because it came out during the end of the life cycle of the Sega Saturn, and it came out on the freaking Sega Saturn, which nobody had. So there just were not a lot of copies of this game. So anyway, I really wanted to play it, and that's why I bought it. And I did play it, obviously, when I got it, and it was amazing. I loved it. It's an absolutely beautiful game. So long story short, I paid $400 for this game, which is an obscene amount of money for a video game. Now it goes for like $1,200. Like, look on eBay for Panzer Dragoon Saga and tell me if you could find one that's under $1,000. It's insane.
That's crazy.
So, and that's one of a lot of games over the years that I knew were just going to go crazy. Tom pulled up some auction, and there's one on there in Australia, and it's $1,300. Buy it now.
Like for the buy it now, yeah. And so that works out to what, 900, 1,000, whatever. It's still like well more than twice what you paid.
Yes,
that's nuts. Yeah, mine. I mean, my answer is, and everybody already knows this. It's all food related. Like, I was thinking about this the other day because I had a delivery of Cottonelle toilet paper. Just so like the delivery from Amazon showed up, and I was on my porch and I was like, "Hey, you remember how everybody freaked out about toilet paper hoarding? You realize nobody died from that? Do you remember how you were the biggest piece of shit loser in the entire world back in February or March if you had more toilet paper than you needed?" Yeah, well, people who had more, like you didn't hear stories of like, oh, well, my grandmother had to sit in her own feces for weeks because a guy down the street hoarded toilet paper. No, that was an absolute stupid panic that never turned into any real consequence. But yeah, the preparation stuff like that, I was at no point was that an issue for me on food because I always have a lot. Like if the world shut down tomorrow and I could not get anything new, I'm okay for 2 years. And that's really kind of where I want to be with stuff like that. And it's worked out nicely not to have to go places to get food. You know, you only go if you want to. A lot of people have to go. Well, I don't. So it's kind of a corollary. Like I think of two things, right? The situation Rise Bread is referencing where you go somewhere and you have to be able to deal with everything, or anything. And do that in not quite emergency situation, but kinda. You go somewhere and deal with something, but also you stay and deal with anything. So those are the two modes of thought that I have. And with staying, it's really just food.
Your hundreds of protein bars.
Yeah, and I still have them. I'm still going. I'm probably half of the way through on those because those you can't keep forever. They'll keep a very long time. Some things you can just about keep forever. Like if you vacuum seal almonds, they're going to last 5 years if you need them to. Like that's easy.
How long will the protein bars last? 2 years?
Yeah. If I pushed it, I'd expect some of them they would stop tasting perfect, but that doesn't matter. It's not going to make me sick. It's just not as like tip top on flavor. But yeah, I'd say 2022 is when some of them would start to kind of get hard and you'd get failure in the packages. That's what it comes down to.
Oh, okay.
Chinchilla asked about Pig, my cat who shows up frequently. when we're going to get the pig emote. Ben did it right before this episode. We have the pig emote in chat, stylized as if he were a guest on the Create Unknown.
Who
The pig
did
emote
that?
is
It's
awesome.
amazing.
I think Marco made that.
It's so
He
good.
made the full thumbnail, like a YouTube thumbnail of pig as the guest. It's incredible.
That's great.
And the emote is the pared down version of that. And yeah, it's so good. Pig is
Awesome.
in the other room now, sleeping. So this is one of the rare misses for him. Kevin, have you seen Marco's Thick Mario?
No, but I would love to. It sounds great.
Can somebody let me actually, now that I have fast internet, I can like load things really quickly. I'm putting it in the episode chat. Kevin, can you comment on Thick Mario?
I was expecting thicker. I'll be honest. I think that it's a good start, but we can go thicker. Mario could get thicker. A few more, mushroom pizzas. When we could get Mario to like the thick proportions that of my dreams and my imagination.
Oh, there's the thumbnail too. Marco popped that in. Take a look at that, Kevin. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it's great. It's so fun.
That is
It's
so
so
cool.
funny. It's so good.
Let's see. Jeff asks, am I still crazy busy? When do I expect to get a breather? No, it's not happening. Maybe January. Maybe January I will exhale. But until then, it's busy. There's just too much to do. There's stuff that we wanted to do last January, some writing projects that like it's Groundhog Day where we're having the same conversations now. That's like, oh, we can do that this coming January.
Yeah, I'm not getting roped into missing that this year though. I will be disappearing to finish working on my book. That is happening. You all have heard it here. Hold me to it.
And Isaac asks, when will your oldest NDA expire that you'd want to talk about? Boy, there's one that I don't know what the expiration date is on it because I'd have to pull up the contract. This is from maybe 8 years ago. And it's an education company that asked me to write a bunch of things. And they pretty much treated it as ghostwriting. And somebody that isn't famous, but is a name in the education community, a lot of people would know who they are. They popped their name on my stuff and that's fine. I mean, they bought the work, right? So it was a work for hire. What they do with the writing after I submit it is up to them. And there's no expectation that I would have a byline. So it's not like it was a problem, but it was weird. If you like with the details on it, you'd feel funny, right? And I would love to talk about why I think that happened, which would require going into details that are covered by that NDA.
So you weren't expecting that it would turn out the way that it did?
No, I wasn't. I expected it to have no author, right? So like if you go to a website and go to the About Us page, nobody signs that. There's no byline. It's not like Jill Sinclair wrote the About Us. You never know that.
Right.
And I thought it would be the same kind of thing.
She
like,
probably did, though. Jill Sinclair is just so prolific at pounding out About Us's.
I'm Googling Jill Sinclair author. And let's see if Jesus Christ. So I just made up a name. I made up a name and JillSinclair.com, executive coach, business strategist, TED speaker, and author. This is not the Jill Sinclair I meant. Okay. I just made up a name, but she exists. This always happens.
She's dead.
But more than the NDAs, what I would love to just blow up on is all the stuff that isn't covered by an NDA, but it violates professional and personal and social standards to do. I'm not that guy. I'm not ever going to be that guy. Yeah, it's just not me. But at the same time, I'd love to be that guy. There are a couple things I would love to put on blast and talk about why they're a problem. Just love that.
Saving that for full mask off, Tabor.
When I start doing that, there's a short list of things that have definitely happened. I've been diagnosed with a terminal illness. Mm-hmm. That's on the list. Mm-hmm. Like if I've got 6 months to live, yes, I'm probably going to do this. what else? I'd be wronged so badly that strategic retaliation would matter.
Mm-hmm.
That's possible. Like that stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
Totally possible. But yeah, it would be catastrophic. I mean, Kevin, what would it take for you to make a problem public?
Oh,
you'd have to get boned pretty hard, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I would have to I mean, point blank, I'd have to not care about the consequences of what going full mask off on something would create,
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it. So if I don't care about the consequences, then I don't care about the action. So, I'd have to be in some sort of situation where I don't care about what happens afterwards. So that's possible. That's not outside the realm of possibilities. There are a few avenues that I could travel that could get me to the end of that road. So we'll see. I think a lot of people are probably, in that scenario for different reasons.
In chat, we've got, for a second, I thought he was actually announcing the terminal illness. No. As far as I know, I do not have a terminal illness. When I do, though, I am going to, I'm going to hit the nuclear option. It's going to be flamethrowers all day, every day in terms of, burning bridges I'll never have a chance to cross again anyway.
Right.
Chinchilla had a very quick question, and then we get the biggie, okay? The biggie that we end on. I'm redoing this space. I know that nobody listening in audio can see it, but the people who are watching live right now see all sorts of stacks of books and things like that. I'm redoing this space. Chinchilla asked what the books were behind me. So I grabbed a selection. An Anthropologist on Mars by Oliver Sacks. Isaac Asimov's The Roving Mind. Brian Greene's The Elegant Universe, Superstrings, Hidden Dimensions, and the Quest for the Ultimate Theory. Martin Gardner's Colossal Book of Mathematics, and Sam Lloyd's Cyclopedia of 5,000 Puzzles, Tricks, and Conundrums with Answers. Haha. Yes, and Tom refuses to link them all. Good, we've stumped Tom. You ready for the last question, Kevin? This is from Trev's Dead. And since this is the big one, this is Friendsgiving. Trev wants to know, what are we thankful for?
I'm thankful for people, like the people in my life, really. I'm thankful for, you guys. I'm thankful for you, Matt. I'm thankful for my wife and my family. And, as corny as that sounds, that's the stuff that really does matter. Everything else kind of, things go up and down every day with everything else. Sometimes things are really good. Sometimes things are really bad. Just with work stuff and projects and whatever. So, at the end of the day, again, as trite, I guess, as it sounds, the people in your life who you can rely upon when things are garbage, it's like, that is really the most important thing. And not taking them for granted. And hopefully, they don't take you for granted, is really, really important. So that is really what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for where we're at also just with a lot of the projects. A lot of progress has been made on so many different fronts we haven't talked about on this podcast. You can watch Vsauce 2 videos on Amazon Prime now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's not a thing that I thought would happen, but it has happened. So go on Amazon Prime and you can watch Vsauce 2 videos with no ad reads in them because I cut them out because they're annoying. So that's a thing. And there's so much other stuff that will have to be probably another podcast. But I don't think that I think that you and I do a kind of a bad job sometimes discussing the stuff that we are working on. And maybe we can do a better job of communicating that with everybody. But the reason for that is that
we definitely do.
Things often are at such a weird and varying stage of development that it's hard to talk about, especially if they might not happen or things change. And like the Amazon Prime thing is done, so I don't have any problem talking about that now. That's a thing that you can go watch. Telling everybody about it in August probably, wouldn't have been the move to make, but.
And that's a good point. That's a really good point that we do a bad job, but there's kind of, there's kind of a reason for it. Oh, so Tom's linked to the Amazon Vsauce 2 page in the chat and just shown that nobody's reviewed it yet.
We have no reviews.
So somebody here,
everybody
is
review it. Review Vsauce 2.
Somebody here is going to be the first. That's right.
5 stars.
Somebody's going to be the first.
1 star. Kevin has a creepy mustache.
It really is tough, though, to talk about developing things. And I know how frustrating it sounds when we're really vague. But like with media entertainment, all of that, such a small number of the things that you do pan out. I don't think people realize how, like at a certain level, how fickle and uncertain projects are. If you have a channel that it's just you, then your projects are pretty much just like you make this thing or you don't. And it's really easy to kind of make an expectation and then deliver on it because you're pretty much in control of it. Once you start working with companies and other people and all this, like there are Bangkok poker games that are less wild than our plans. Like they're so uncertain. Things change orders on priorities. Things evaporate. They blow up. They die. New ones come out of nowhere. And it makes it impossible to really mention much.
Yeah. Or
until
like this summer, we spend an entire summer being raked over the coals over one video to then finally release it and get raked over the coals again by the fans. That happens too.
Right.
And you can't complain about it or really talk about it or explain it to people. You just kind of have to move on. So yeah, like that stuff happens too, where it's like, I just lost 2 months of my life to a thing that was awful. Time to move on to the next thing, and hopefully it's good.
And even when you can say something definitively, sometimes you can't because there's definitely going to be a question about it that you can't answer, that you can't talk. So Boromir, who's not in tonight, I was talking to him about this the other day, that it's really hard. You have these de facto NDA things where it doesn't exist, but in reality, you can't talk about a lot of details because other people are involved and you can't betray their privacy and confidence and all of that. And so you're not trying to be secretive about it. You're not trying to be weird. But if, it's like if you tell somebody like, oh yeah, I broke up with my boyfriend or girlfriend. Well, you know that the next question coming is, oh, what happened? Well, if you can't answer the question of what happened, then your only option here is to not bring it up in the first place.
Right.
It's really similar with a lot of these where it would be great to throw it out there and that's fine. But the follow-up questions are going to necessitate things we can't do. So it gets very tricky. I want to say that I'm thankful for, it's very much like what Kevin said, all the people I know, all the people in my life. It's really good to see them develop and grow and blast through problems that don't seem like there's a solution, get through terrible times that they don't think they can get through. I'm thankful when things are bad. I'm honestly thankful that things are not worse. I think about this like when I wake up with back pain. Well, like 10 or 12 years ago, it was really hard to put socks on because I couldn't bend that far. Well, now I can. Like, I mentioned how awesome paying bills is. I hate paying bills, but at the same time, I love paying bills because now I can pay them. I remember what it felt like to get bills and not be able to pay them. That sucked. It was the worst feeling ever. Well, when I pay a bill now, I'm thankful that I can. So it's a little bit grim to be thankful that things aren't worse, but I absolutely am. There are going to be very bad times that come up in the future, and I'm glad they're not right now. So I'm thankful for all the positive stuff Kevin said, and I'm thankful for the absence of the negative stuff too. And the part that all of you play, whether you're in the live chat now, whether you're a patron who's not in the Discord at all, and there are a bunch of you, you're somebody who just listens on iTunes or Spotify, we don't know who you are, that's fine too. Everybody plays a role in how incredible this is for us. We've slammed out a very difficult year. We're not done yet, but we've gotten 11 months out of it. That's remarkable given what this year has been like for us personally, and also the world being nutty and difficult. So I'm thankful that we're all in a very good place right now, because it could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah. And also I would just add to that, the guests that we've had, I've been really happy with how those have went.
Yeah.
We haven't had like any problems with any of the guests. They've all been really cool.
Not really.
The response to the episodes has been overwhelmingly positive, from entering different communities, people who may not know who you or I are and unfamiliar with the podcast. Gotten a lot of nice compliments and feedback, mostly positive, just from like kind of like a range of corners of the internet. So that's been good too. And look, we have determined our white whale for 2021 on this podcast, Tommy Wiseau. So I think that it's been an overwhelmingly productive episode from my perspective.
Yes. This is good. It's been nice to just talk about whatever, whether it's goofy stuff or serious stuff. We had a really good blend of questions about frivolous things and questions about serious things, like how do you find passion or drive, or does it exist, or why do you do any of this? It's been really nice, and chat's been rolling. I mean, flying. We have a lot of people tonight. It's been extremely active. Thank you to everybody who kept that churning, and it's still churning now. So it's great. And Jeff just says that the live element to this has been a great part of the community for him, and that it's his favorite phase so far.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Yeah, we have a lot to feel good about.
Definitely.
Yeah, mine too. And we do just have a lot to feel really good about with everybody.
Yeah. So yeah, again, before we wrap up, if you want to join us for these, we're doing them every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on Discord. If you don't have Discord, guess what? I didn't have Discord either before this. I had to create a Discord for TCU. So if you have to create a Discord for TCU, it's not that big of a deal. Just go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown, become a $2 tot. It's $2. I'm gonna entice you with the tater tots so that you'll eat the vegetables of joining us and supporting the show. But yeah, again, thankful for Friendsgiving, thankful for everybody joining us every Wednesday, and thankful for everybody who can't make it, because we know that many of you can't because of time differences and work schedules and all of that stuff as well. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with us on Friendsgiving, and have a safe and happy holiday. And for those listening who the holiday was last week or don't even celebrate Thanksgiving, then just disregard
half our audience.
Just half our audience. Then just be safe and be thankful in general. Who needs a holiday? You don't need that.
You should not need a holiday to be thankful. No. It's like it's like, look, if you only say I love you to your significant other on Valentine's Day, you may be doing it wrong.
Yes.
So
through a Hallmark card. You don't even say it.
Right. You should take as many opportunities as possible to feel good about a lot of things. And I think everybody's got something that they can feel good about. For sure.
But yeah, again, join the Discord. If you want to just hang out and chat, because you don't have to be here for the recordings to necessarily just be a part of all the cool stuff that all of the community is involved with. And we'd love to hear about what cool stuff you are up to or just interested in, because that's kind of like what we're interested in. So anyway, thanks again, everyone. And until next time, we will see you, Space Cowboys.
Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. We'd like to extend a huge thank you and a congratulations to the listeners who made our Save the Babies drive a success. Many new $2 tots and Dumpster Crew members, you have saved tiny little lives. A tremendous shout out to our elite baby gang: Trevsted, Boromir, Bot Dogs, Chinchilla, Cat, Isaac, Conrad, James Gallagher, Jeff Davis, Patrick Pister, Baseweight, and our newest sweet little babies, Doe Jangles and the Catboy Laterment. And thank you to our grizzled, battle-hardened child infantry, Jen Mafasanti, Kevin with an E. Menard, Mikhail Steinke, Risebread, Sean Malone, Monahim, and the newest recruit, Private First Class Ryan Kinder. Thank you to our producer and editor, Ben Webster, and our social media manager, Dan Yoshua. The Create Unknown is an Unknown Media production.